Here from the Working Fans Podcast. And at the Working Fans Podcast, this is just a podcast that three lifelong fans created to have a place to talk comedy and pro wrestling. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We release bonus episodes under the moniker Working Fans Presents every now and then. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, any major podcast provider. The important thing is just please like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to us. Now, we have started a new thing. We are now on Amazon and Audible. So those episodes release every Monday. And that's kind of going through the archives and just releasing our old episodes in a new area. So if you want to live through the process with us again, take that journey with us again, you can find us over on Amazon and Audible. Now, if you can't get enough of us in the audio form, check out our YouTube. It's youtube.com/C/Working Fans Wrestling Pod, or just search Working Fans Podcast on YouTube. We have the whole archive is up there. And if you listen to the Working Fans Podcast, you are more than familiar with the 531. That is our signature segment where we take your top 5 lists on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3, and then debate it down to a top 1. Now, guys, if you want to hear 3 guys talk shit about comedy, wrestling, life, anything, you will enjoy the Working Fans Podcast. Fans, welcome back for Working Fans Comedycast episode 40. This week, the man they call Dave and I will be sitting down and talking about a subject that is almost as near and dear to our hearts as Eddie Murphy was to Dave's. These are a 531 on Chappelle show sketches. Let me play the intro video and we'll bring Dave in. Dave, we spent so much time recording ahead these past couple weeks that this is our first list in a while, and we really came out with something we're going to enjoy. So I think this is going to be a fun recording, and God help us when we run these quotes when we do them later.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, too, this is my first time, folks, on a new recording setup. So forgive me if I'm a little awkward here, working my way around. It's like the first time with a lady, I'm trying to feel my way around and I'm trying not to embarrass myself, but, I think I got it.
You can see looks clear, sounds clear. We got that bar in the background.
Don't pay attention to the bars. I'll be dropping bars later, bitch.
And we got no snare in my headphones, man. Like
no
some
snare.
of the
got no snare, bitch. Sorry about that breathing, boss. I got asthma.
Some of the greatest quotes in the last 10 years have come out of this show, and sadly, it's also what turned Dave off to the show for a little while. Obviously, we're talking about Chappelle show skits, and I think we're going to be all over the place because we got a lot of lists, we got a lot of memories in this show, and there's just so many classic moments.
Yeah. I'll be saying the N-word a lot here. Not the N-word, just N-word, folks. Because
I know Dave's at home like cracking his knuckles like, I'm about to find these dudes. Joe, I know where you work. I'm going to find Dave.
Because the people who sent this list, some of them definitely said N-word, and then some of them used the actual word. And I'm like, all right, well, I can't do that.
I'll start off with my first list because I got 22 lists on deck. I think Dave's got about 25. This is going to be similar to the horror movie list we did. And I think we're going to learn our pacing a little better because Ponch Ortega from the Mothership Facebook group has Rick James, Clayton Bigsby, World Series of Dice, Mad Real World, and Tyrone Biggums.
Man, I'm already want to predict Rick James.
Rick James
Rick
is
James.
definitely going to be up there.
Rick James is definitely going to be up there. I'm going to say Wayne Brady, the real Mad World, and maybe the Clayton Bigsby are going to be some of the finalists that we see in this a lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the outlier skits are. What are the ones that stuck with people? Like, for instance, I can't find it right now. Why don't you give us your first list and we'll
I'll give
see
you, yeah.
where they fall.
I got somebody messaged the AJ and Dave account. I got Sequina, Louisiana, Tweet Thomas, and I'm just happy that they wrote us. And they got the black KKK member, pocket stenographer, Mitsubishi commercial. We'll get to that in a second. R. Kelly, Piss on You, and Rick James. Now, the black KKK member is Clayton Bigsby. Some people are going to word it differently, right? The Mitsubishi commercial, if you don't remember that one, that's the one I want to say where he had the woman with him and he showed the bloopers where her titty popped out, and he said he felt bad, like he was kind of willing it like with the force. He was like, "Come on, titty!" And yeah, that one always got me.
And it's funny that that stuck out for them. That's not going to be like in the top 3 later, but now that you bring it up, I'm like, oh, I do remember that.
Right. And there's going to be funny ones like that too. And I want to say too, that's also where later on he had that girl with him and they drove by like his family and they like splashed him with water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Good shit.
The next list I have is Tony Rice from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Ask Negro Damas, Ask a Black Dude, Piss on You, Trading Spouses, and Whack Arnold / Calvin Got a Job. Because I think he had it as Calvin Got a Job, but I was thinking about it as Whack Arnold's.
Yes, it's both, right? Whack Arnold's was the job he had.
Yeah. You smell like French fries.
Like French fries?
Baby's
Guess what? You ain't getting the McRib. Calvin got that on lockdown.
Oh, God. Once that thing really went on, that was hilarious.
That was some good shit. Yeah. Like Charlie Murphy with the guys. Yo, Calvin got a job. Yeah, let's rob his ass. I got Drew Landry here. Drew Landry has Making the Band, Prince, Black Bush, Clayton Bigsby, R. Kelly. One of my favorite lines from Black Bush. It's very simple, but I like it when like he's like giving his reasons like why they might be there. And he said, "Well, I can be real, son." Be real, son. And Darnell Rhodes like, "Be real, son." And he's like, you know what he said? He said, "That man tried to kill my father." Except he didn't say man. He said the N-word. But also like,
oh yeah, we're going to be cleaning a lot of this up because we're fans of the show, but we're not fucking stupid.
Right. We know how some of you motherfuckers are. You're just trying to get our asses because you got nothing to do on a fucking Tuesday when it's dropping. Like, oh, I heard him say it. Let's cancel their asses. Nah, we too smart for you. Fuck you. Oh shit! I challenged the internet. I better be careful. But one of my favorite lines is like when they're asking him too, and like the woman's like, "What do you say? You're there for the oil?" Like, who said that? Who said about oil? You cooking, bitch? And then they all just run away. Good shit.
Next list I got Billy Pike from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Mad Real World, Rick James, Racial Draft, Pop Copy, and Making the Band. I know another one we bust out a lot is because fuck them. That's why.
Fuck them. That's exactly right, man. Popular copy. Why treat the customer this way? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see because I feel like the Racial Draft's going to be on here a lot too. I got Steve Osborne here. He's got Wayne Brady, Prince, Rick James. Honestly, just anytime he has a story about a celebrity, to be honest.
That Wayne Brady was great because that was actually in response to a Paul Mooney bit he had done about Wayne Brady. And up until that point, you didn't see that side of Wayne Brady. That was probably the greatest acting job ever. And just insane that he got that side of Wayne Brady out for that show.
Yeah. That was so good. Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch. I try to understand it.
And it was also great how it parodied that Training Day movie as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wayne Brady out there going, King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Made me probably a bigger fan of Wayne Brady than I ever thought I'd be.
Yeah. No. That show definitely put Wayne Brady more on the map for me. I was never a guy who followed Whose Line Is It Anyway. I know a lot of people that like that show.
Oh,
it wasn't anything
I loved it. Wayne Brady was great, but like I wouldn't say he was my favorite.
Gotcha. Yeah, he just never was on my radar too much before that. But that show, whew. So Brooke Jolly has Samuel Jackson Beer, Tyrone, the N-word family. That's where I'm going to be dropping the N-word mostly because that one skit. Clayton Bigsby, when he had the white lady sing all the stuff he wanted to say during the monologue. Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
And then special mention, Ask a Black Guy and Negrodamus were brilliant, but those were Mooney's parts. Samuel Jackson Beer, it's such a short skit, but when he's like yelling, at the people and he's like, it'll get you drunk.
You might even fight someone or two.
You'll be effing fat bitches in no time.
So much about that was great. And it's just this. Sometimes the simplest ideas on that show made it what it was. Like one of the things that put it over for me was that his DJ was Cypher Sounds, a guy who later got into comedy himself, but at the time had a talk show on Sirius Radio. He had Dead Prez's Hip Hop as his intro song, and just the heavy bass on that show really made that intro. And just seeing the monologues before the bits, you could see that he was having fun. But Corey Richards from the Mothership Facebook group had Player Haters. I'm assuming Player Haters Ball, Pop Copy, Mad Real World, Wayne Brady, and Calvin/Whack Arnold's. I think Whack Arnold's is just so relatable because they did that parody of the McDonald's commercial so well. And then when the comedy hit in it, it just made it.
Yeah, and everybody's had that shit job too, or even if it's not McDonald's, you can kind of relate. So, and those were the McDonald's commercials too, like where everybody's just so super excited in the neighborhood. It's like it's so ridiculous. So
Calvin got himself a job.
Randy got a job. Shout out to Randy Oscar. Wyatt Many, he just put down the racial draft. To which Brooke Jolly responded, Wu-Tang should have gone sooner. These guys are having a little conversation here.
A couple times in the comment section. I didn't put them all down, but it was funny how this list got that conversation going.
Yeah, because this guy just responded with, goodbye fried rice, hello fried chicken. I couldn't breathe seeing that for the first time. So, yeah. That's the thing too, right? About Chappelle, he's such a great quote machine. Like the Chappelle show was such a great quote machine and he talks about that. I think it was almost I don't think it was the greatest thing. I remember going to see a stand-up routine for him, and there was a part. This was at Mohegan Sun, and I remember there were people shouting out different things in the middle of the show, and he joked, but probably a little truth to it. He said, "Look at your ticket stub. This does not say Dave Chappelle and Friends." He said, those are characters. That's not what I'm doing here.
I was actually at the Oddball Comedy Festival in Hartford. At the show where the whole crowd was pretty much screaming a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And he stopped the show and he read from a lady up front's book. He didn't do much. And the crowd quickly turned. And the scariest thing for me is sitting there and hearing white people behind me screaming, white power. And I'm like, I know you're doing the bit, but that's not what I want to hear when I'm in Hartford when shit is going down. So we got out of there before it could get any uglier. But at that point, I think Chappelle did like 30 minutes on stage and then he had walked off. Right. So it was wild to be at that scene, but it was kind of disappointing to not get a show that night. But that's when I started feeling more sympathy for him and being like, God, maybe the show did get away from him.
What a story. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah, me and Josh Lucas were there because there were other comedians I wanted to see. I wanted to see Flight of the Conchords.
Oh.
Brody Stevens was hosting the second stage, and it was just it was a wild scene. Like, I've never been at a show where the performer had that much power to be like, nah, we're not doing this. Because that takes some guts to like turn on an amphitheater like that.
Yeah. That's one thing about Dave Chappelle we've learned is he's not afraid to speak his mind. Hats off to the guy too. The more we've learned about him as I've gotten older and see how he does his business, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, like when I saw his comedy special, when he talked about why he didn't want people watching Chappelle's show, I was like, oof, I don't want to give up Chappelle's show, but like, I feel for the guy. Like, if you're not getting paid,
right?
And then it was wild. He took it off Netflix. Then he did get paid for it, and now we can enjoy it, and we're doing this guilt-free.
Absolutely. I believe it's your turn, sir.
It is, because Courtney West has a list from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Rick James, Piss on You, Player Haters Ball, Mad Real World, and Wayne Brady. That Piss on You, I can't hear R. Kelly now without laughing and thinking about that.
Yeah.
Even though he's one of those dudes that, you know, they want to cancel and take his music away. Like, when I hear that beep, beep, it just cracks me up every time.
Talking about boo, boo.
Yeah, it made me think of that. Like, I think I even bought that album around that time because I'm like, I'm not the biggest R. Kelly fan, but that song pops me. And yeah, you're going to find Chocolate Factory somewhere on my purchase history.
I like that Dave tells that story about them meeting in the airport, and R. Kelly's like, how you going to make a video about me pissing on somebody? He's like, how you going to make a video of you pissing on somebody?
And it's wild how over the years, God, think if Chappelle's show was around now and they did that interview with R. Kelly where he's like, why y'all trying to bring me down? Ruin my day. And it's like, you're guilty, but you're protesting in such a funny way. Like, I would love to see Chappelle's take on that.
Yeah.
R. Kelly himself has turned into a joke, and what he did was horrific.
I had a roommate named Ryan one time who he was watching Chappelle, and he hadn't really given it a fair chance. He watched a couple skits, and I remember he was like, oh, so he just makes fun of white people, huh? Ha ha. And I was like, he makes fun of everybody. And I'm like, he talks about stereotypes, jokes around. I was like, you should just give it a listen. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And he loved it. And next thing I know, he was quoting fucking Rick James episodes and shit too. And it's like, yeah. And actually, he told me a story, I think. You look this up. I don't remember. I'm going off of memory, but I remember this guy told me a story that there was some bar in Ohio where he was from. I think it was Ohio, but apparently Rick James was there. And, they were going crazy, and Rick wanted to like keep the bar open later. He's like, come on, man, can't you open it up a little longer? I'm Rick James, bitch. And I thought to myself, he probably helped like revitalize some of these careers and stuff too.
Oh yeah. Like, that might have been like lore in entertainment, but he made that like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like, once that came out, that's all you would hear getting yelled out almost anywhere that somebody was drunk.
Yeah. There was some special I think he did. It was he was talking about going to Disney World, and he says, I can't even live anymore. He's like, I got people going up to me. He's like, I'm Rick James, bitch. He's like, hey, I'm Rick James, bitch. Mickey Mouse is coming up to me saying this shit.
And that's funny because a guy who, Donnell Rawlings, one of the guys that popped off because of his show, had the I'm rich bitch. Yeah. And granted, it was like one tagline versus a million key catchphrases. Like, he rode that out and like didn't overdo it. But like, when I met Donnell Rawlings, that's how he signed my ticket stub. And that was just so cool for me. And that was another thing the Chappelle show did that I want to talk about for a minute, is the amount of other comedians he put on. Made Donnell Rawlings more famous, made Bill Burr, I would say, arguably kicked off his career on the Chappelle show.
Yeah, no doubt. Bill Burr was a guy, I think, who really came on strong the last several years with his Netflix specials and that stuff he did in Philadelphia. That could have been before Chappelle, I don't remember. But yeah, Chappelle definitely put him even more like on the map.
Yeah, because he was coming up with that tough crowd with Colin Quinn.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, but just the Chappelle show, I think, is where he got his biggest kickoff from.
Absolutely. All right, I want to go back to these lists here. We got so many. We got Oliver Huzagamana. I'm sure I said that correctly. Black Right Supremacist, World Series of Dice, Black George W. Bush, Negro Damas, and Rick James, bitch. And also Spliffin Tarantino. That's right. These are my friends on Facebook. He responded with all of them. So
there were a couple people that said anything from season 1 and 2 was good, not season 3. There was one rare person that said fuck Dave Chappelle, which I didn't even take his name down because I'm like, you're entitled to your opinion, but even in this era where they want to cancel him over a special, the things he does with the comedy and the boundaries he pushes, I think makes him like way too important. Like he's almost like the Black Carlin of our day. But getting to these lists, Scott Keeler from the Mothership Facebook group has Clayton Bigsby, Charlie Murphy Stories Prince, Pop Copy, Racial Draft, and It's a Wonderful Chest because I'm just a whitey who loves titties.
That was a good one.
Gotta love that honesty in the comments.
Yeah. He's like, I've been tripping on acid. I don't know how you're keeping up with me. I got Peter Najadek. Again, don't question me. I have this. It's Clayton Bigsby, white supremacist. Knee-High Park. Oh, that's with the puppets.
I was going to say, I had that on mine too, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck Knee-High Park is.
It's the puppets. Yeah, I had to look it up. The unfinished second player haters on where they beat up Hitler and shot a slave owner dead.
Oh, yeah. Player haters.
I always laugh because he always talks about that. Apparently, I'm the only one who thinks shooting a slave owner is funny. He's like, I'd do that every episode if I could.
Yeah.
Rick James and Negro Damas as well. We'll wrap up this gentleman's list. And, talk about people that he kind of put on the map. Once again, too, a guy that had been around, but he brought attention back to Paul Mooney.
Yep. Charlie Murphy, another name that got big on that show. The amount of people that he put on was amazing. Like I said earlier, Cypher Sounds, another guy who was into hip hop, later got into comedy. Chris Wingo from the Mothership Facebook group, Mos Def as well, had Rick James, Prince, Wayne Brady, Player Haters, and Clayton Bigsby.
Solid list. I'm going to get two of them right here because T.O. Marone Fancer just wrote Pop Copy because fuck them. That's why. And then Rocky Jessica wrote Rick James, Prince, The Mad Real World, Clayton Bigsby, and Wayne Brady. We haven't really quoted The Mad Real World yet, but that's another one of my favorite ones where the dad just gets stabbed, the poor man. And he's like, son, I'm bleeding. I don't know why. And then Chappelle's character like, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, I think some of these we're not quoting just out of our own safety.
Yeah, remember when he took the guy's girlfriend, like went with the two dudes, like Charlie Murphy and I think it was Darnell Rollins. And it might have been some other random dude, actually, now I think about it. And they were having sex with his girlfriend and stuff like that. And they're doing the whole thing, and he, the white guy, I forget his name, but he's a good comedian too. And he's crying and like, "Shut up, homie! We're trying to make a movie over here." And then at the end of it, Tyrone, Dave Chappelle's character, I think it was Tyrone, and he's like, "Tyrone, you slept with Katie," and he's like, "No, I didn't. That was so and so." And she's like, "You slept with me too, Tyrone." And he goes, "Oh, I forgot." And he's like, "Katie got some big ass titties."
Now, Nate Luthart from the Mothership Facebook group has Pop Copy because he spent years working in the print department at Office Max and can 1000% relate. He's got Player Haters Through Time, Clayton Bigsby, Samuel L. Jackson Beer, Prince / Charlie Murphy stuff, and then Jake Rule Reparations.
That's funny. I'm going to read a couple here just to keep it moving because one of the guys has just a couple here. So we got Stephen Allen, who's got the Racial Draft, the MTV Cribs one with the dinosaur, I do remember him cracking those dinosaur eggs open. Tyrone's intervention. And then, since that's not a full list, I'm going to go to Groove Master J Page, who in no particular order has Rick James, True Hollywood Story, Prince, True Hollywood Story, Wayne Brady, R. Kelly, and he has down Slow Motion. Oh, that was the commercials and stuff like that, where everything was better in slow motion. And I'm just going to say what this guy's right here because this guy just wrote down, his name is Lyle's Super Slaw Case, and he wrote all 5 Dylan. I don't think I know if I'm saying that right. Is it Dylan?
Oh, Dylan, because my friend Bartek Panawiki, we call him Bart where I'm from, he just put a gif of Dylan with the 5 fingers, and he goes, I have to go with this. Yes. And I was like, that is a good pick.
That's what this guy did too. He wrote all 5, but then he also showed the gif for the guy too.
Now I'm going to hit you with a couple lists because, like I said, we got a lot, and we learned about our pacing last time, so we're not going to gas ourselves. I got Isaac Penley from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Player Haters Ball, Clayton Bigsby, Racial Draft, Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories, Impossible to choose which one is best, and Mad Real World. I'd have to say Player Haters Ball was probably one of my early favorites between Dave Chappelle's character, Donnell Rawlings, Charlie Murphy. Just everything about it made me laugh.
Hitler's mama got one titty bigger than the other. We used to call the bitch Biggie Smalls.
Albert Bettis from the Mothership Facebook group had Clayton Bigsby, Player Haters Ball, Charlie Murphy, True Hollywood Stories, Rick James and Prince, and Black Bush.
All right. Well, looking through my list here real quick because I almost went past him. Steve Moss, a.k.a. Rory Fox, just wrote down Charlie Murphy. So thank you, Rory, former guest of the show. I got Jesse from New Hampshire. He's got Clayton Bigsby, The Racial Draft, True Hollywood Stories with Rick James, World Series of Dice, and this is a good one, no one that I haven't seen too much of, Wife Swap, which was also a good episode there. G-Unit, get your ass outside.
Now, the next list I got for you is actually somebody I work with. Mike Ladford has Black White Supremacist, Wayne Brady, Tyrone Biggums, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong, and Mad Real World.
Keeping It Goes Wrong. That's one of the good ones, too. It was like, tell what's your name.
So true, too.
Yeah, tell what's your name. I said, what's up? Nah, you could have just ignored this. Or, fuck no, I keep it real. What preceded was one of the worst ass whippings. Phone. Yeah. Fuck that. I don't like her on my phone. All right. Zach St. John, one of our favorites, who, by the way, I forgot to actually ask his brother for a list on this. My bad. Sorry, Jake. But Zach has
Real
Wayne
ZSJ,
Brady.
Allegedly. How does AJ always say it?
Oh, ZSJ.
John's favorite baby boy.
Yeah, favorite boy, yeah. Shout out. I forgot to get AJ list too, so whatever. I did ask Randy. Randy told him we could make one up, but we'll talk about Randy later. Shout out, Randy. We got Wayne Brady, Clayton Bigsby, Mad Real World, the Milkman skit, also the N Family, and Racial Draft.
That actually brings up a similar list that I got. Kelly Shepard Hassan has Charlie Murphy's Real Hollywood Stories, Prince and Rick James, The Milkman, otherwise known as the N-Word Family, New Tupac Song, Wife Swap, and Wayne Brady.
So good. The N-Word Family is good. It's just so gratuitous. And the premise behind it is he's just trying to make fun of the fact that, like, how silly this is, and he's making it gratuitous. And
I actually had the chance probably about a month ago at work in the parking lot. We were talking about Chappelle show skits, and a certain dude that works with us, he went full N-word on this, saying the name in the skit. And then we work with a couple dudes who are looking at him like, I think they were, I don't know what they were thinking. They didn't hit him, but they were probably just like, yo, you got to stop like soon. I'm going to let you say it like 5-6 more times, and then we're going to have to regulate.
Oh my goodness. I I got Marissa Miller on deck here. She gave me a list. Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. Prince, Law and Order. I plead the fifth. Clayton Bigsby, the black white supremacist, the racial draft, and the N-word family. But also, as far as the N-word family, I like to go with what thing. Fifth. That's also just such a good one. I got this important document. Fifth, not the one.
Now, Ron Lynch III has black reparations, Tyrone Biggums, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong, Wu-Tang Financial, and Racial Draft.
All right. I got Michael Flynn, who's got Mad Real World, Respirations, Frontline, Creighton Bigsby. That's right. It was a Frontline. Hey, I don't know if they did another Frontline one. Making the Band, also with Dylan. And I see you looking at me there. Hold on. Players, Haters, Ball. Did they do another Frontline?
I was wondering if remember the Racist Animals? Was that a Frontline?
Racist what?
Racist Animals, Timmy, the N-word hating dolphin.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. Mr. Ed. The dolphin. Yeah, that might have been a front line.
I thought about it right till then, because when you said, did they do another front line? All I could think about was that dolphin, and I'm like, was that a front line?
Yeah, that might have been.
Now, I didn't just bring you Mike Ladford. I brought you Mike Ladford Jr. I work with him as well. He's got Player Haters Ball, Wayne Brady, Charlie Murphy's Real Hollywood Stories, ESPN Pro Dice Championship, and Tyrone Biggums on Red Bull.
Oh, he gives me wings. I got Randy Miller, husband of Marissa Miller.
Not Randy Osborne?
So here's the funny thing. When I asked him for the list, he said, obviously, Rick James' sketch would make top 3. And as he wrote out his list, like on Facebook, you're already like writing something. I had wrote Wayne Brady would be on my list for all time. And so he wrote the following. I'd say 5, Respiration sketch, any Leon sketch, Rick James, the Prince sketch, and the Black White Supremacist. And then when he saw my message, he said, damn it, I forgot about Wayne Brady. But he stuck with his list. So
Respiration, that's got to be my favorite Black Star song. Now, Sean McKinney from the Mothership Facebook group has Real Wayne Brady, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong, Racial Draft, Charlie Murphy, both Rick James and Prince. And that's it.
Okay. How many more lists you got?
6.
Oh, okay. I got 4 counting me, so why don't you give me a couple more?
All right, I'm going to hit you with Sean Ryan from the Mothership Facebook group because he's got Clayton Bigsby, Racial Draft, Charlie Murphy Stories, Wayne Brady, and Trading Spouses. And I'm going to hit you with mine just because I'm going to get funky like that. I got Tyrone Biggums on Fear Factor. Joe Rogan, you crazy for this one. Clayton Bigsby, Charlie Murphy, Rick James Story, Wu-Tang Financial, Wu-Tang, Player Haters Ball, and Racial Draft. Diversify your bonds.
I'm going to hit you with one you ain't ready for. We just did a show with these guys. The Coming Down the Aisle podcast.
Oh, Lord. What's he got?
He's got I Love Black Bush. The skit. But Clayton Bigsby
knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does. Racial Draft, Wayne Brady, bitch, and Rick James, bitch.
Now, Amal Pitts from the Mothership Facebook group has Player Haters Ball, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong, Racial Musical Differences with John Mayer. That was a good skit that's not going to make a lot of lists, but that was very interesting.
That one should be on there. That was so good. I really did enjoy that one.
Wu-Tang Financial and True Hollywood Stories.
Yeah, every rose has hits, though. I got Eric Ames. He's got Eric Ames has Rick James, Clayton Bigsby, Basketball versus Prince, Fear Factor with Tyrone, and the Racial Draft. That Fear Factor one, man. That is pretty good.
I'm just going to go to sleep here for a little bit.
The first sleep I've had in years.
Ryan Damon from the Mothership Facebook group had Pop Copy, Wu-Tang Financial, The Mad Real World, and Slavery Reparations.
I got Young Kings Wrestling, Trading Spouses, Rain Brady, Right Along, Black Bush, Cornroll Wallace, and Mad Real World. And then I just got my own list, buddy. So hit me whatever you got left here.
All right, Joshua Ewell from the Mothership Facebook group has Knee High Park, Player Haters Ball, Clayton Bigsby, Wayne Brady Trading Day, Tyrone Biggums. The last list I got, Scott Barton from the Mothership Facebook group has Samuel Jackson Beer, Clayton Bigsby, Rick James, the first Tyrone Biggums sketch, and Wife Swap. And he had to say it was really hard to try and fill these 5 because there's so many great sketches from that show. Just a fantastic piece of TV. And that's true because when you think about what they did in 2.5 seasons, if you consider that Lost DVD, they put a lot of really good sketches in there and a lot of stuff that really permeated the culture.
Absolutely. A shark came up and ate me. I'm fucking shocked. So this will be my list, by the way. Wayne Brady, Rick James are gonna definitely make my list. Clayton Bigsby is gonna make my list, and I think it's kind of funny. This is where I'll go back and forth on a lot of them, but I'm gonna throw in Tyrone Biggins. I'm gonna throw him in there with the Fear Factory episode. Thought that was just classic, and if I'm gonna be completely honest, it's got to be the Milkman. Just because he was so hilarious in that. It's my favorite family. I know better than to get between you and your pork. Not the first time you guys been late on your bills. You know, I'll bet you get the finest table. Like it's just he was so classic, and you know he was making a silly situation out of it, and that's what comedy sometimes is, right? Taking serious stuff and just trying to get you to laugh. So.
And let's talk about the partner to that show, Neil Brennan, somebody who a lot of the times the focus is on Chappelle, but Neil Brennan was his writing partner for that run, helped him do Half Baked. Neil Brennan did his own comedy career, had a great podcast, The Champs, for a little bit. Just a great comic mind. And it was great to see him and Chappelle at the top for the time that they were.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Joey. Let's see here.
I don't know if you can hear the wind whipping outside. It is doing something hellish out there right now.
Yeah, my partner over here, our partner, was letting him know I'm running a little bit late. Minutes.
Oh, your Jets, Pop, because we got Rick James has to be on there. Clayton,
yeah, it does.
And top 3. Wayne Brady. I mean. There was a lot. Wayne Brady, Mad Real World, Player Haters Ball, but I feel like Wayne Brady was like just edged everything else out a little bit more.
So Rick James, Wayne Brady, what was the other one you mentioned? I'm sorry, it's handling our business here. Bigsby. Yeah, that's fair. I actually would argue Wayne Brady, maybe even over Bigsby a little bit for me. I think, Joe, just by this little tip of the hat here, you're kind of nodding your head like, yeah, I can kind of see Wayne Brady, but that kind of lets us know where we're leading with this.
Yeah, and I mean, if I were to be perfectly honest, I would probably lean towards Clayton Bigsby.
Okay.
But when you think about what that did for Wayne Brady's image and just the fact that he would come in and do that for Chappelle, that little bit of comedy just really made it. That's what would tip the thing over the black white supremacist for me.
I want to say something. So that's fine. I don't care. So we can go 2 and 3 Wayne Brady because I want to talk about number 1, and that's the Rick James. And in wrestling, right, one of the things they always talk about is like putting people over, right? And you know, something. He basically, that was Charlie Murphy. Like he gave Charlie Murphy the forum to tell those stories. Unselfishly realizes how funny it is, probably, right? I mean, that's the big thing. So Charlie gets this platform. It's hilarious, and it makes Charlie probably that whole show puts a spotlight on Charlie after that, and he's doing stand-up for a while. And then you got Rick James, who suddenly has a spotlight on him too. Like so many people got made again or got brought back in the spotlight because of that episode. Well, maybe just those 2, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Like,
I would say really, just overall, the story of the Chappelle show was about putting a lot of other people on it. Right. Dave was featured in there in his comedy, but so many of his friends were brought in, so many people that he thought was funny. And if you think about just off the top of my head, like the 6-7 careers that kicked off with that, there's probably more.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that Rick James, and I mean, you know what the music means, that really has to be that top spot. And this was a fun list because this is a show we've watched for years. We were such fans of. And guys, we hope you enjoy this talk as much as we did. We will talk to you later.